Good afternoon and welcome. Delighted to introduce Hannah Vickers, who Chief Executive of ACE, and Alasdair Reisner, Chief Executive of Seeker.
We'd rehearsed this the other way around. So I'm Hannah Vickers. I'm not Alasdair Reisner. I'm the Chief Executive of the Association for Consultancy and Engineering. And between us, what we're going to cover is a little bit of research. So share with you some of the research we have done on the future of the industry. So we represent different perspectives. So I represent the consultancy perspective. Alasdair obviously covers the contractors. So between us, we're going to try and give you a little bit of our research that we've been doing in parallel. So I will just touch on some of the findings. What I will say before I start is that Gareth, give us a wave, Gareth, is here from my team. So if you'd like more information, and we've actually published some of this research now, so we've got the full documentation available on the ACOM stage. So if you're interested afterwards, you can follow Gareth and he will sort you out with the full research. So we're going to just cover a little bit of what we've done. So over the last year, we have been looking at what is driving change in the consultancy industry. So I'll just take you through some of the headlines on that. So the first thing we looked at in terms of the consultants' current business models was actually what are the things that are driving change. You can see we've got three up there. So you just heard a lot about data from Miranda, and essentially we tried to look at that through the lens of you running a consultancy firm. What does it mean? And the bottom line is there's going to be a lot more customer use and asset performance data available to you, which is of huge value to your clients. So we need to start thinking about how we actually use that. So that's the first driver of change. The second is demand, and it'll come as no surprise that under that, during our year's worth of research, we picked up this imperative for us to be part of the journey to net zero, but also to start to think about actually being a bit more accountable to society. So I'm not going to dwell too much on Brexit, but if we learned anything from the Brexit vote, it was that was a rebellious vote against the people who are seen to be in government, and the fact that they were disjointed. So again, we need to make sure that we are being accountable and understanding the impact of our work in terms of society's expectations. And the last thing was devolution. So I know there's a stage devoted to subnational transport bodies this year here. So that, I think, is testament to the fact that actually we're seeing increased devolution, we're seeing a greater number of city deals. And really what that means is that as far as consultants are concerned, who your clients are changing. You're going to be working a lot more with metro mayors, with city leaders than perhaps you would have been doing historically. And equally, that means that they're probably going to be expecting a different level of service from you. So those were the three things that we saw as driving change. And from that, we came up with a vision for where we thought the consultancy markets would be headed in future. So obviously, we've got our existing market, which you can see at the bottom there, is around working on projects, delivering new projects, the design, the technical consultancy. So that's what we are used to doing. And in our research, we looked at actually how is that going to change. So what is digital transformation going to mean? It's going to mean that we need to take much more accountability for the creation and be the custodians of the digital assets. So that was what we started to document in the delivery market. But we also spotted that actually there's going to be new markets opening up. So those drivers of change are going to give us different opportunities to bring online different services for new clients. And specifically, we looked at actually working at the very, very top of the built environment as a system. So in this case, above the highways network, but looking at actually perhaps how across things like the DFT portfolio, we can really add value. So we came up with these two new markets, the policy market, which is all around strategic planning and placemaking, so actually offering that technical design, that master planning, that simulation work. And this is where we start to see a lot more demand for our services coming forward from the likes of the metro mayors, who really want us to come in as consultants and help them redesign cities. They're not interested in individual projects at that stage. They want that big master plan, that grand vision. So again, that's one of our new markets. And the other is the operational market. So this is very much focusing on actually, now we've got these new tools, we've got this data, we've got this expertise working across multiple networks. How can we bring that to bear to help our clients? So effectively what we came up with was the future for consultancy is our delivery market is going to change. We suspect it's probably going to get smaller in terms of revenue, but within that, if we can improve our productivity, we might be more profitable. But equally, we've got these two new markets which we could move into if we can get things right. So the next phase, and I'll just finish on this to give Alasdair some time, to take that forward now into delivery, what we are are looking at is really focusing on things as far as ACE is concerned that we can do once for our members. So what can we put in place if that's the vision we want to deliver on? What is it that we can put in place to deliver on that? So we've got skills and capability, undeniably something we need to focus on. Interestingly, what came out of our research was that we haven't got a skill shortage in terms of the number of people or the number of graduates. What we've got a skill shortage is, as our clients are changing what they're expecting of us, as our skills within our organisations are changing as a result of digital transformation, we actually need to be much better at upskilling and reskilling our people, and they need a different blend of skills. So we have different job roles being created. So there's a big piece in there for us to map for the consultancy industry, what are the job roles of the future, and then work with the likes of the professional bodies and the knowledge organisations to see how they can be delivering on those so that we are getting the right sorts of graduates, the right sorts of fully qualified professionals out of our education system. The second one is innovation. Within those three markets, we started to map the technologies onto it. I'm not going to dwell too much on that, but when we go into delivery, what we're looking at is how can we create things like collaborative R&D programs and the structures around that allow our consultants to come together, where they can spot the need to innovate around a particular technology to open those markets. How are they going to do it? So that's what we were looking at under innovation. And finally, just to close out, is the piece on business models and contracts. So this is a fundamental shift for the consultancy businesses to move away from input-based, hours-based business models into something where they are rewarded for outputs and outcomes. So we've actually done a piece of research on this already, which delves right into the detail of what value-based business models are for consultancy firms. And that really touches on a lot of the themes that you've heard already on this stage around actually how can you make a return on investment for your technology, for your innovation, when if you're currently paid for the hours that you spend and it's going to reduce that, you've got no incentive to do it. So that's really starting to unpick that tricky conundrum we've got there. So at that point, I'm going to pause because we're very tight for time. I'll invite Alasdair up to do his presentation. We have got some time for questions at the end. Thank you.
Right. I'm going to rattle through this extremely quickly, as Hannah said. So I'm Alasdair Reisner, Chief Executive of the Civil Engineering Contractors Association, and I'm basically to do the counterpart for delivering infrastructure to Hannah's piece around the future of consultancy. So how did we get here today? Well, we're the Civil Engineering Contractors Association, so our guys basically build everything that doesn't have a door on it in the UK. 80% of the market is delivered by civil engineering contractors in Seeker membership. And they're facing an exciting time. You only need to look around the conference hall today to see some of the really interesting, innovative things that are changing our industry, that are making us more efficient, safer, just doing the job better for our customers. But also, if I was here 2 years ago, the Carillion stand was there. It's not there anymore, and that's reflecting some of the challenges that we're facing in the industry, not just within individual companies, but also within projects. You only need to read your construction press to some of the big ticket projects out there that have faced fundamental delivery challenges. So our question is, where are we now as an industry? So that's where we could be. That's basically an Austin Maestro. I loved it. I learned to drive in one of those. But it was a reflection of an industry that failed to keep pace with change, that was resistant to adapting to innovation, moving forward. That's where, if you read some of the press, that's where people will say our industry is at the minute, and that people are going to sweep in and steal our lunch in terms of the way that we deliver infrastructure. I don't think that's where we are. I kind of think we're here. So this is, you can probably just about read on the side of that, that's John Deere, plough manufacturer. Was in one of the best plough manufacturers in the United States at the turn of the last century. But the internal combustion engine came along, and he realised if he was going to stay at the front end of technology, he needed to move his business model to something else to address what his customers needed. And the thing is, that company has continued to do that to today, where they are adapting the best technologies that are available globally to ensure that their product is at the front end of the marketplace. That sounds like a much better place to be than producing another Mini Metro, Maestro, anything like that. So our question is, how do we get there? So we've got to identify what the right road is. So I've got some bullet points here as to what that looks like. We need to understand what the vision for the sector looks like going forward. We need to understand what some of those challenges are. What are we trying to avoid? What are the hurdles, the barriers that we want to overcome? But also, how can we take advantage of some of these great technologies and avoid using the ones that will head us off in the wrong direction? So, like Hannah, we're a bit behind. We're contractors. We come after the consultants in terms of the delivery cycle. So we're currently just finishing off the research phase for our work. And we've delivered this 6-month research project. So that's going around and it's saying, what are the business models? Hannah's talked about some of the business models for consultancy. We've asked the same question for those people who actually get out there and deliver the infrastructure. What are those technologies that we're going to be using? And how do we make sure, crucially, that the people that we are already in the industry or those that are going to be coming into industry are ready for that industry of the future? So 18 events, about 700 people have been involved one way or the other in this research. So I'm just going to take you through very quickly 2 of the key points out of this. So this is emerging work. We haven't published this yet. We're expecting to publish probably in the new year. It's going out for consultation this week. So looking at business models, we think that the traditional contractor will still exist going forward, but there will be other models that also emerge. So the first of those we're calling the optimizer. That's where an organisation gets engaged with a client, with an owner early on to say, how can we give you the best solution? Rather than waiting for something to be dropped in your lap and saying, can you go and build that? It's, do we need to build something? If we are building something, what's the best thing to build before we ever get into the early process of development? So we feel that's a business model that we're already seeing emerging. The second one is what we're calling a high-value civil engineer. We see significant development of what you might call platform approaches to design for manufacture, so much more off-site capability. Well, if you're going to bring something that's precisely engineered to site, you need to make sure what it's landing on is equally precise. So we think the role of the civil engineer, getting out of the ground, comes fundamental as being the building blocks for any off-site approach. So that ability to deliver a fantastic service in each time creates a new role for the civil engineer going forward. Talked about the project enterprise. This is not a new idea. You look back at how the railways were delivered in the 18th century. This model, basically a single organisation that just delivers the whole lot, including the finance, we think that could see a return. We think, particularly at a time when the government may not have the funds to directly deliver, there's an opportunity to bring a finance model that creates whole assets, almost pushing traditional owners out of the way. That's not to say we don't want traditional owners, but taking a single project and optimising it because the whole delivery is under a single organisation. Lean manufacturing, we talked about this design for manufacturer approach. Well, actually, if we can create manufacturing that produces optimized products that can be sold across a range of different infrastructure assets, that's a great place to be, particularly the manufacturing side of things. And finally, the integrator between the high-value civil engineer and the lean manufacturer is someone to bring it all together on site. And again, we're already seeing companies saying that's where we want to be in the future. We'll be doing less of the on-site build, but we will make sure that everything arrives on the site at the right time, and we've got the people on site that put it together effectively. So I'm going to click the button. I think that's my last slide. One more slide. So the other side of it is around the technologies. We've looked at 8 technologies that we think will change the industry. I'm not going to today, we don't have time to go through each of those individual technologies, but some of the themes that emerged in terms of how we bring technology in is we need to be better as an industry at identifying where challenges are, identifying who the best organisations in the industry are to bring innovation forward to address those, and then selling them out to the rest of the industry. So we think there's a new collaboration that could be formed across the industry to bring innovation through. Secondly, we need to so that's the connection between the challenges and the technology solutions. But we also need to wait and understand the standards that we work to. What we don't want is Betamax versus VHS. But equally, we don't want to say you can only use one thing. It has to be creating a framework that everyone operates under, but allows innovation within that framework to ensure that we get continuous improvement as an industry. And finally, we want people to be rewarded for the innovation that they make. But there's a risk with that. If you reward for innovation, there's a risk that people keep it to themselves and don't share. Can we move to an industry where actually we reward for the sharing, which encourages the whole industry to move forward, and those people that are most innovative are those that win most work going forward? So I'm going to click the button again, and that is the end of my slide. You can tell I'm a professional. Thank you very much.